Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Nerd After Hours. Today we're going to be talking about The Batman with Robert Pattinson, and it is my quickie spoiler review of it is a solid 8 out of 10. I'm sure most of you guys saw the short where I was spoiler free. Me and Carissa are going to be talking about it with spoilers. So if you haven't seen the Batman movie, get out now. You have been warned. And we're gonna be talking all things the Batman. And Carissa, what was your quickie rating of it?
Um, I would give it more of like a 9.5. I
She's
had
just
much
biased
higher.
for Robert Pattinson. Take that with
I
a grain of salt. I'm
mean,
just kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean that definitely helps. I was certainly enjoying my eye candy. It was a good thing it was a real dark theater. Let's just say that.
Ah,
It was
that's great.
right up at the front. No, Plus, at the one I got to go to, you have these little,
Hmm.
trays in front of you.
Actually, the one I went to also had snacks and trays. Like I literally got popcorn, I got coffee, I got some fruity candy. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like some those Sour Patch Kids or whatever. And I got a Kit Kat, and I was like, there we go. Let's get to this Batman movie.
God damn it, Bogey! You gotta wait your turn, bud.
Yeah, Bogart, what's your turn?
And I'll just text him so he knows.
Oh, is he trying to?
I love it generally, but he lately has been calling me all hours of the day. Like if I'm home, you're usually on the phone, and we're not even talking. It's just like for some reason, it's like he has to have it going. It's like me with having lives going.
Oh, it's just hanging out, huh?
Yeah, like, he'll like do his homework, um, and and it's like sometimes like I don't quite get it because it's like you're not doing anything, you're not even looking, but it's like I don't know. I guess it's the presence or
Yeah,
whatever.
give you that
Um,
semblance of being together, even though you're not.
yeah, I just, uh,
Anyway, well, while you're doing that, I'm gonna talk some more about the Batman. So I saw some fun reviews that were infuriating, which I'm sure Carissa here has some to share, because she watched the Shabibo review, and
yeah.
I don't know how you can listen to.
I don't know how you can listen to this for 20 minutes. I mean, look here. All right, it's all a liberal conspiracy to make all your children woke. That
It
is what
was
Batman is.
like I understand like art is subjective. Not everybody's going to like the same exact thing.
Mhm.
But it was still just like what he found issue with because like I watched it and I didn't think it was like really anything that liberal or out of the ordinary. And
Mhm.
Bogart and I kept joking the entire time while watching, like, I wonder if this is why he was mad. This is why he's mad. And when
Mhm.
I actually watched it, I just wanted to pull my hair. I was like, are you fucking kidding? It was ridiculous.
Well, I saw a TikToker whose his response he's like, I give it an 8 out of 10. It would be a 10 out of 10, but unfortunately it's because there was too many good black people in it. That was like a
Yeah,
quote.
I've been seeing that. That was a lot of Ben Shapiro too, but I think he was also mad because they were all critical. Like we were a lot of the stuff that we had talked about where it was like these are kind of the problems I have with Batman this
Mhm.
far. This is kind of what I'd like to change. So for me, I just saw it as like, oh, adding on and improving. And to
Mhm.
him, it's like, oh, you changed anything? Fuck you. Like, I've clearly you don't even like Batman. It's like, I never said that.
It's so silly. It's like I remember that some people got mad about the casting of Commissioner Gordon too. It's like, really? It's not even
Because
important.
he's black. And it's like, so why does it matter what race he is? Like,
It's
it literally makes no difference,
I agree.
And the person they picked is a really good actor, and he does a good job fitting that role. Honestly, I think not that like I'm a huge Commissioner Gordon stan, but so far I think he's been like the best Commissioner Gordon I've seen personally. I
That's
think he
just
was the
because we
perfect.
haven't got the actor who plays Charlie Swan to be him yet.
Now you want to talk about gushing in a movie theater? Now that oof.
Man, this that's the
Okay, you
weirdest
got me
thing about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
there. No,
What'd you say?
I don't even remember. It's
Oh,
like you got me right? I said something like that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say is like this whole Batman movie has been like completely like attacked by racist. It's fucking insane. The actress who played Catwoman, she got
Is happy.
denied a role in the Nolan films because she's black.
Yeah, and then people were like, oh, well, they're just trying to get trophy points for this. And it's like, or maybe like stop denying people roles that are good for them because of their race.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
agree.
like, it's infuriating.
I agree. The other thing was like, let's see here. What was some of the other quotes? Stuff that I saw. There was actually, all right. So to get away from like the obvious people who hated it because like they just hate black people, to be brutally honest. Like to get away from that, there were some other critiques that I thought were funny, but obviously these ones weren't racist, but they were just kind of weird. Like there were people who complained it was too dark, like you couldn't see.
That actually was a complaint of mine. And maybe it all depends on like what theater you go to and the lighting, but there were a few scenes like I'm very like I like the idea of like having a dark, moody theme, but there were some scenes where I legitimately couldn't fully see what was going on and I had to squint. But I think that has to do with like more like what you're watching it on. But it would have been nice if like it was a little bit just like a little bit brighter. I don't know. It depends. Because like it's one thing if you're supposed to be squinting, but when it's like the majority of the film is like that. But for me, that's like a really like nitpicky critique, Like I had to squint sometimes, And for me, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight drove me crazy with how much of like the dark, moody lighting 24/7 to the point where like, let's see, I'm not a Dark Knight fan. Cancel me now.
Actually, I don't think this is going to sound bad to some of the Batman fans, but I don't think I've disliked a single Batman movie. Like from Tim Burton to the newest one. I don't think I've disliked any of them. I think, look, they're all entertaining in their own way. Like I actually ended up watching the Tim Burton Batman, the first one, because of the new one. I just decided to go back and watch it, and it was fun. It was a fun movie. One of the things that I noticed was like the Tim Burton Batman movies definitely inspired the music for the new one.
I definitely noticed that, especially with Selena Kyle's scene.
Also, a criticism I saw was the criticism of like the level of realistic to it. That was one thing I was seeing a lot on Twitter. Like there were some people that were saying it's so realistic, or others were saying it's not realistic at all. It was kind of like, what are you talking? I'm very confused with the DC community right now. Like, what do they mean by not realistic enough, or too realistic, or not realistic at all? I mean, like, yeah, there are some things that I look at the Batman movie and go, well, that's not realistic. But there were other things that I go, say what? Your turn.
Yeah, but it's not real, so if I wanted to see something realistic, I'd go outside.
Right. There were some things that I thought were very realistic. Like I liked, or what I should say, what people should be saying instead of realistic, they should be saying practical. Like Batman's Batmobile in this movie was very practical. It was a souped up car, regular like sports car, basically, that was like armored.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is a lot of things that I liked about it, other people wouldn't like, and that was that was some of the stuff I liked. Is that it felt less like he was just wasting, because some of the times when I've watched other Batman movies, it really like solidifies rich asshole to me, depending on like who's playing Batman.
Yeah, this one
feels, I'm gonna make sure I have this or that, and my car needs cannons coming out of it and stuff, and it's just like that was the thing I really didn't like about The Dark Knight. It's like doing nothing to actually better the community. It's just like, I'm rich and I'm building these tech weapons, and it's just I hated him as Batman. I did not like it. And I know, like, I shouldn't be admitting this because I'll get hate crimed, but
I mean the Nolan Batman, to be correct. Just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. One thing is, like, for this one, it's more like the stuff that, like, everything he has is practical. Like, he has a, like, heavy-duty car that, could be bulletproof, but it's not like flashy, so it's not like people are gonna be staring at him. Like that's another thing is like how do people not finding like the Batcave because he's like not subtle about like how you sneak into it. Whereas this one, it was pretty intricate, and he's not riding around something flashy. He's just a normal looking motorcycle. He looks like an average Joe.
Right.
And I really like that. Like it there was just so many things that made more sense and made it much more enjoyable for me. Um
I also, one thing that we both really gushed about though was the spots where he was high tech were very like they were also kind of practical. Like they were practical and like maybe they weren't something that was like a piece of tech that we actually have in existence right now. Which Batman's always been a little bit ahead of the curve on everybody on that front, so it kind of makes it. But he was just ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? So his that was that like he had a computer, like a high tech computer, like what we all have today, back in the 90s. You know, so Batman's always been just ahead of the curve when it came to tech. Like that's
because he has money.
exactly. So this particular the recording contacts was a genius tech idea for him to have because like we already have contacts that can do some really cool stuff. So I don't know if we're at the point where you can get full audio and record everything you see, but I'm pretty sure like Google Glasses are a thing. I mean, how long until it's how long until something like that is a contact? So
yeah,
I liked that. That thing was wholly practical. I also liked that his computer would like let him like screenshot stuff he saw. Also, it made sense to like because we've already seen tons of movies where Batman just seems like he's staring at shit. You know what I mean? But for no reason.
It kind of makes sense because he's trying to record. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah.
And it was also like a good way where they were able to kind of subtly build up to the tension between Batman and Catwoman, like, and kind of the hint that he's got a thing for her, like him rewatching a scene where he can like see her through the mirror. Like I thought that was just kind of subtle and nice and kind of like a little bit of an obvious nod. But no, I started freaking out when it came to like when he took the eye contacts out. I was so excited for that. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, me neither.
And it was really cool. It's very like everything he had was very handy and reasonable, and that's what you know, it felt like the Dark Knight was trying to be like realistic and gritty, whereas this was just actually realistic
and practical. It was. I think it was more practical.
That's what I mean. I liked that. I was excited to see that. That's the kind of thing I wanted to see. Like, yeah, I have my silly Tim Burton Batman movie, and I like that. But if I want to see a more practical Batman, this is a lot more of like what I would have in mind.
Yeah, the most high tech thing that I guarantee you that this Batman has is probably the body armor he's wearing, and the contacts. Like I don't. Do you remember him ever having like a grappling hook gun at all? Do you remember? I don't remember if he had one or not.
At least in the cartoons. I can't remember if I've seen it in the films at all. But
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. In this recent film, do you remember if he had the grappling hook thing? And I don't.
Yeah,
remember.
He did.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he had it or not.
He didn't use it towards the beginning, but like at the end when like the city's falling apart, he's using it a couple times. He uses it to like risk his life.
Oh yeah. You're right. I couldn't remember if he had used it or not, which is funny because in the Tim Burton one, like it was. I remember they made it a point to like when Batman asked what's her name the photographer like how much do you weigh. Because the cable's set for him, not for him and another person.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, it's in the first one with the Joker. Yeah, there's a scene where he has to.
Like the type of thing that would exist, but I didn't watch that one a ton because I was in the unpopular group when it came to that.
Yeah, it's all good. I just remember that one, and I couldn't remember if Robert Pattinson's Batman had the same thing. It's funny as I really like that this Catwoman is actually also very comic book accurate in another way.
Yeah, she's more like some of the newer comics rather than like the old goofy ones. And also, like, this isn't the first time we've seen Catwoman played by somebody who isn't a pasty white.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that it was really cool to bring that back. And I think it really adds into her character as somebody part of the lower class, because I think it adds like an extra element to her, because she has to deal with both. Whereas, like, in the past, you kind of just had her having to deal with being poor. And the thing I like about it, she has a very motherly nature to her. She's very, because you have like kind of the silly cartoon Catwoman who's all like, I just like stealing diamonds, whereas this one's more like she's stealing to survive and take care of the people around her. It would have been nice to see more build up between her and her friendship, because it kind of made it like, you understand why when she finds her friend dead, it's so upsetting for her, but for me it was.
I wonder
That was the one thing. It would have been nice to see more build up there for everybody.
I was gonna say, I wonder how much of it was actually a friendship and not a little something more. I'm just saying, it's a one-bedroom apartment, and Catwoman is canonically a bisexual woman, so
I just don't see why it matters, like, whether it's a friendship or something she's romantically involved with. I personally am not super into the idea of her being romantically involved, just because, like, right after that, she's like that would be really weird if, like, your girlfriend who you found out was dead a couple days ago, and then you just instantly start, like, smacking face and like like gushing out love for this other random dude in a bat suit. Like, that just seems. I would be pretty hurt if, somebody I was dating, like, a couple of days after I died, already, like, on to the next thing.
Right, fair. I just remember that there were people that were
fine with, the fact that she's dated girls, but I don't like the idea, and plus it kind of makes it seem less genuine. I think there's just something more pure about, like, friends taking care of each other, because then there isn't that element of somebody getting something out of it. So I'm fine with, like, the idea of them making her more gay. I don't think it works, because this isn't like a Catwoman solo movie where you're getting her backstory. This is
right
10 minutes before meeting Batman.
Yep, and getting involved with him slowly, like, because she's not quite Catwoman yet.
Yeah, I kind of, like, I think it's just less. I think they just aren't playing up the super silly, like, it's more like nicknames rather than somebody having, like, an extreme alter ego. For her, it's like she's a cat burglar, and her mask kind of has a little bit of the cat ears to it,
Yeah.
and she's the cat lady, and I love that. Like, I love that she has a friend she takes care of, and she has a shit ton of strays, because she's just naturally, takes care of people and has a little bit of that, cat. She behaves like a cat. I loved her whole demeanor with it. It was so good.
I kind of got a giggle out of it when Batman goes. He looks down and he sees all these cats. He's like, "You've got a lot of cats." I kind of giggled a little bit just because it was like he just had to vocalize it. You know what I mean? It was just one of those, like, lines where he's just kind of like, "Huh."
Yeah, it's definitely a moment made for trailers, for sure.
I kind of wonder, like, how much of that was, like, I don't know, that just had a vibe of, like, it was what do you call it, improvised. I don't know if it was, but it just feels like that.
I guess it doesn't really matter.
I don't know. I just given the vibe, it just kind of felt like an improvised line to me. But it was fun. It just kind of made me giggle a little bit in a stressful situation, because, like, that scene's obviously very stressful. They're trying to find a missing person.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's I also kind of find it interesting that he's a very detached Batman.
Yeah, well, it's also young Batman, and I think, like, you get to slowly see him open up, and it was really great to see Alfred call him out in his shit. That was one of my favorite parts, is Alfred snapping at him. I've been kind of wanting to see more of that, where he has just people around him are holding him accountable, and that was one thing I really loved about the Batman Catwoman dynamic, is she's kind of showing him, like, you're fighting the wrong people. A lot of the people who are into this stuff, they're doing it because they don't have another choice. and her coming from the lower class. It's like, here, this is how you could actually help people.
Yeah.
And yeah, you see him change for the better.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nice. I was excited to see that.
Yeah, he goes from less of a boogeyman to an actual superhero by the end of the movie.
This was the first Batman movie I'd ever seen where he truly felt like a hero
Mm-hmm.
rather than just a vigilante, and that was really nice. I hadn't seen Batman portrayed like that before, and I thought it worked really well.
I
And he slowly improves as the film goes on, and he works on himself.
Yeah, he's. I also like that he deals with like this Batman seems to deal with more violent crime specifically, and like he doesn't go after you just because you're dealing drugs. Like when you think about it, like with the Penguin, like he doesn't care that the Penguin's dealing drugs. He cares that people got murdered or harmed.
Yeah,
And
priorities.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like the Penguin is like the lowest priority villain to Batman in that whole movie. He's just kind of like, look, I just want information. I don't care that you're dealing drugs. What you do to your body is your business. I don't care. But
Yeah.
if you start, I only care about violent crime, and I'm like, well, damn, if all the cops in the real world started doing that, we'd see a lot less. Well, one, we'd have a lot less full prisons, but you know, at least we'd get more justice. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. See, yeah, you probably can already tell what the Ben Shapiro take on a lot of this was.
Oh yeah, I don't remember I didn't get a chance to watch it. Did he say stuff like that? Like, did he be like, well, why isn't Batman beating up the drug dealers?
Yes, he did.
Are you kidding me?
It was basically like a portrayal of the Batman character. It's all like Batman is supposed to be bringing fear into people's eyes. They basically just made Batman into Superman, and they made him into a fire. They literally have him helping people out into a helicopter at the end, and it's like, so you're having a problem with him doing basic good things instead of just beating up poor people.
Yeah,
It was baffling. Like, you get to see him punch the shit out of people and take down people who are bad, but he just also helps people too. Like, I just don't understand how you could see that as a problem. That's so ridiculous to me.
yeah.
I don't get it.
That scene actually, if I could give my own criticism of that scene, we're talking about the end where Batman's helping the soldiers and the cops like deal with this situation that has happened to Gotham City, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's my criticism, quote unquote, of that scene. Like, yeah, I get it that it's not very realistic. Like, obviously, in the real world, cops would never and soldiers would never work with superheroes. They just wouldn't, unless they were like Superman and they just couldn't outmuscle them. Maybe somebody like Batman, they would probably try, to arrest or something. But somebody like the Flash or Superman, they wouldn't even bother because they couldn't keep up, they couldn't outmuscle them, etc. But here's the thing. What I think a lot of those people who have the criticism of that's not very realistic forget is the DC universe and the Marvel universe do not operate the same. In the DC universe, superheroes are typically treated the way they are supposed to be treated. So, like, in the DC universe, you have monuments to fallen superheroes. You have, like, in the DC universe, there's a whole graveyard with statues of these heroes, some with powers, some with none at all. And the DC universe, like, Batman is scared in the DC universe. Good cops work with Batman. The bad cops don't. The criminals obviously are scared of Batman, and all the good people know that Batman doesn't hurt non-violent people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how the DC universe works. In the DC universe, typically, the cops and a lot of the government people work with the superheroes, not look at them as a threat to their power. It doesn't mean that those factions don't exist. Obviously, that's how we get the Suicide Squad. But the government is very much like, oh yes, of course, Batman, you can help with this fire, or you can help with this natural disaster, and we won't mess with you, because we know generally you help us bring all these bad guys in. But same with the Flash, Wonder Woman, etc. it's widely known that these people solve problems. So the governments of the world in the DC universe don't view the heroes as much of a threat in that aspect. But obviously, so some people criticize and might look at the Batman movie and criticize that and say, well, that's not realistic. That's not how that would happen. Yeah, we know that, but that's why the Marvel movies exist. That's Marvel's bag of tricks. DC shows how the world should be if superheroes exist. Marvel shows you how it realistically might be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I get the need for some people who want that realism, especially like people who are maybe come from more of like Marvel movies, because Marvel movies are obviously like overall have the more wins in the comic book movies genre than DC does, and they do have some winning formulas, but but I think this movie was fantastic. I think honestly, what makes this Batman movie better than a lot of DC's other movies is they don't shy away from like the spirit of what Batman is. Like if you notice, like when they just embrace the character for everything that they are, all the weird, all the wacky, all the kind of silly stuff, it makes a great superhero film. When they try to cram too much of that or cut corners, that's what makes a bad one. And like Batman was good, Aquaman was good, Wonder Woman was good, Shazam was good, Superman, I thought the Man of Steel Superman movies I thought were okay. They embraced all, and that's what made them good, is they embraced what those superheroes, the spirit of those superheroes. They didn't try to cram too much in there, and like that's one of the issues I think with the Justice League movies is like it just feels like it's like they tried to click the fast forward to their superhero team up movie.
Yeah, the Justice League film was not good. Definitely was a failure,
Yeah.
astronomically.
And then the Snyder cut was better, but it was way too long to be viewed. Like honestly, they should have just did what Marvel did. Like gave like all right, so what I mean by that is like the Flash movie should have been his own. All those superheroes should have got their own movie. And if you want to cut corners with like, I get it, Cyborg's not as well known. They literally could have they could have been the one side story that they had in that team up movie. You know what I mean? Like, cause like if you focus a lot on the stuff, like you get a lot of Aquaman and the Flash's, like you know what I mean, background stuff. I'm just saying, like, I mean, also Marvel has the unfair advantage of like like Hawkeye and Black Widow aren't exactly as interesting as Cyborg is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like Cyborg, and I think it's odd that nobody's taken the time to give him his own solo film.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big old Hollywood director, so.
Right. I honestly think and they picked a really good actor too, and I remember hearing like stuff that like rumors and stuff that he was going through when they were making that movie, like people making racist comments and stuff at him and things like that. Yeah.
That surprised me.
It
seems like it's all too common now.
Yeah, it feels like it's not. It doesn't just feel like it's too common. It feels like it's over common now. If that makes any sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like they just, I don't know what it is about it as of late. What's making these racist dudes like over feeling so comfortable, especially in geeky circles, because like geek circles have always been very progressive. Like, like all right. Here's what I mean by that. The writing, I mean. Like, if you look at the X-Men at the time they were being made,
Okay, the writing. Actual communities, I would say the majority. Like, that's why I don't enjoy hanging out in a lot of nerd communities, because there is so...
Oh, no, I agree with you there. I was strictly talking about from, like, a storytelling standpoint. Like, superheroes have always tried to been this very, like, thought-provoking... Which is kind of funny that, like, they don't get the artistic... merit that they deserve, really, because like superhero movies have also tried to talk about like complex issues like poverty, like racism, like LGBT stuff. They just comic books have been talking about like stuff like that for years, and and then people want to say, oh, I don't want politics in my comic book movie. I'm like, bitch, have you read a Captain America comic? Even Batman was punching and Superman were punching Nazis in the early days, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like literally like the first big bad guys were like Nazis.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I find it really weird, like how pro Russia and Nazi, like especially the Republican Party's become recently, because that was kind of like the original like big American enemy, and it's like I'm very patriotic and I love Hitler, and it's like what? Do you hear yourself? It's confusing to me because I'm not even somebody who's like really gun toting into like defending my side like it's a you know
right.
football game or something. But to me, like I don't know. I feel like it's just it seems so weird that you're claiming to be the one who's patriotic when that's who you're siding with.
Yeah, yeah.
That yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole. But to me,
It's very
it's I
confusing. It's like, how did you get to that?
Yeah, my dad recently, like he's been all like, "Oh no, Putin is a good guy, and um he's down in Ukraine because no, he's not down in Ukraine. That's all. The whole thing's fake and it's photoshopped,
Hmm.
and he's actually down there to take down uh Biden's a pedophile ring down there." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, just get off the server. It's like not even funny anymore. It's annoying. It's like
Well, yeah.
so all
I
these
mean, I
people and
imagine it
all
would
these
be if
people
you had to
trying
hear it
to
all the
run to
time.
safety, they're all lying, they're all faking it. I don't understand like how in your head you have to be to think that. Like, do you know how many people would have to be in on that lie for that to work? Civilians. Like it
Yeah, I'm done.
I love yeah.
I mean, your dad's gonna have a rude awakening someday. That's all I can say.
I would think that. I don't know. It's been a really long road, and I'm definitely losing hope as of recently. It's like to me, it's like not even worth talking to him. I said like I was in a shooting this freaking weekend, and he took the time to text me about how he ate my shrimp, but like not enough to be like, "Hey, glad you're safe." And it's like I'm kind of glad because I don't need to hear about how like actually it wasn't a real shooting and it was actually just a photoshopped noise intrusive thing, and they broke the windows just for shits and giggles because they're also hiding the secret pedophile ring. It's like I
Yeesh.
you
When
know,
they
not worth it.
when they say real life is sometimes stranger than fiction, they ain't kidding.
Yeah.
Of course, like who would have thought that we would be in another situation like since you brought up the whole Russia thing. Like, I mean, I never thought I'd see in my lifetime the United States and Russia being like, Cold War, warring each other again.
It doesn't surprise me lately. Everything's been hitting the fan.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired of living in historical times already. That might be a privileged thing to say, actually. Now that I think about it, I think, but still, it's like, oh God, can we just skip to the good part?
You didn't say that again. I'm
Yeah.
definitely tired of this. Honestly, like not to be a huge downer, but like this
Hmm.
past week has definitely solidified the whole like if and when I decide to have kids, I don't want to be here.
In
Like
the
I want to
States.
be in Canada or at least in a very liberal state, secluded from the majority of humans, because I just like nothing feels safe anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. You know what I found myself Googling the other day? Like, not even kidding. I was Googling, like, the safest places to be if you want to avoid a natural disaster. Like, straight
Yeah.
up. I found myself Googling that because I keep thinking about all these floods and all of these forest fires and earthquakes and tornadoes. And they gave me 20 spots in the United States that are like, have very little of that.
Hmm.
Funny enough, all of them are on the like half of them were on like the Canadian border.
telling you, all got to go to Canada. It's too bad that, but then again, they're also having racist protests. But,
Yeah.
like, hey, at least you can hide from that.
You know what I think is weird?
Currently.
I remember hearing something about like how it was a bunch of Americans went over to Canada to protest.
That wouldn't surprise me either, but
Yeah. And then they tried to claim the freedom of speech thing, like from the First Amendment, was like their defense against the cops while they're in Canada.
I didn't hear that, but that's funny.
Yeah, there was an old man who went over there to protest, and like he went to Canada and he protested in that trucker convoy, and when he got arrested, he'd be like, "You can't do this. This is part of my rights." And Canada, of course, the Canadian police officer laughed at him because he was like, "You're in Canada, not the United States. Your rights don't apply here."
That's funny.
Yeah, it was like, oh my god. Now, obviously, that guy just ended up having to come back to the United States as his punishment, but still, that like literally that's all that happened. He just got kicked out of Canada and came back over here, but still.
I don't wish there was more like stricter punishments for that, because it's like you're acting like maniacs and endangering people's lives. I feel like there should be a little bit more of a slap on the wrist for that, but who am I to say?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, come on, the January 6th people aren't even hardly getting punished. They're either taking deals and being on probation for months or years or whatever, and the handful that are going to trial. I mean, like there is one guy who is that I read about that is getting sentenced, but I haven't heard any updates on what his sentence was.
Probably nothing strict, but
if I was a betting man, though, I bet you the big reason why they're not chasing after them so much is because it's a voting year. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm just saying, if a bunch of those people that did get caught came from red states, so I would not be shocked if law enforcement that is, supposed to be chasing after those people just aren't, because they're like, well, we're going to want them to vote in the midterms.
I think just a lot of people don't care. I mean, I've seen that from firsthand with my own family, just when it comes to stuff where even people's lives are in danger, they just don't care.
I know that when you mentioned the shooting, I had a mild heart attack. I got seriously worried. I was sitting there like, I just tried not to blow up your phone because I was like, that wouldn't help.
I mean, like, yeah, nobody got hurt, but it's still just like the fact that there's no care.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's frustrating to be in your situation. I wish I had better words for you. I honestly do. I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, I think most people would definitely feel that way. I don't know. To be honest, I've just gotten to the point where sometimes I don't really see like my biological family as my family anymore, because it's like I just don't feel like there's that care and compassion. And I feel like people should naturally want to take care of each other, and there just isn't that at all. But
I wish I had the answers for you. I just
there's really nothing can do. Wow, I have a bunch of characters to stage up. Isn't that something?
It's very frustrating to be in that situation, and I don't know if it's maybe more of an American thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm from Texas, right? So we have people shooting guns here all the time. So I'm not sure that my folks would even say anything either if I was anywhere near a shooting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure they would say anything either. Like, honestly, I think my mom would be mildly concerned. I'm sure the rest of my family would be like, "Did you get shot? No? Okay."
Yeah, that's basically how my family is. That's like the thing is, it's like, oh, yeah, that sounds scary, and then just sort of go about your day. And I've heard some people say like, oh, it's probably like a denial mechanism because if you face it, then that's something. And it's like, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I would still, me, it would be nice to have some kind of an acknowledgement or just, I would just, it would be nice to know that the people who are supposed to be my family care, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really gotten to the point where, I really see like my friends more so as my family because they're the ones who are actually there when shit hits the fan, you know?
Hey, family is what's the saying? I got blood that ain't family, and I got, what is it? I got family that ain't blood, and I got blood that ain't family.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
just,
family is not family isn't, honestly, when it comes down to it, family really isn't what's in your veins. Family is who treats you like they care about you. And that's just something that I think that our entire generation or generations are starting to figure out. Like, we're looking at our parents and grandparents and going, wow, you, and great grandparents, and going, you have screwed this entire everything up so bad that we want it to be absolutely nothing like you. And we're starting to just go and build whole different kinds of families now.
yeah, I have seen some of that for sure.
And I don't know if that's necessarily like a generational thing either. I mean, I'm sure there are people in those previous generations who think like we do, but it's still,
It's not the majority, I guess,
yeah.
still nonetheless. I just rhymed without meaning to.
You know, it's like, you know what I think is weird is like I can't fathom the idea of like forgetting certain things. Like I think about some of the habits I have right now, right? Like
Hmm.
for example, I still will eat high top ramen noodle even though I don't need to. You know what I mean? I can eat other foods. I'm not so poor that like that's the only thing I have access to, you know?
Yeah, it's still kind of a comfort food, and plus, it's a good way to save money.
Yeah,
I've
but I get
I've
that
been definitely like low on money lately, and I've been basically, surviving off of basic snacks like that because, it's like there's so little I can eat anyways. What's the point?
it's, you know, it's like it's just one of those, it's just an example I wanted to give because it's like, you know, it's a cheap, easy food that we all have access to, you know, and it's like, you know, I can't undo that in my head, that brain, that, you know what I mean? No matter how well off I become, I can't imagine myself not being willing to eat, you know, a 50-cent ramen packet, you know?
Hmm.
And
It's
it's maybe, and I don't know, but yet I still see people who are older than me who seem to forget that there was a time and place where they didn't have every access to everything, you know? They just kind of forget, they like forget that, and it's like, how could you forget that? I still can remember when I went to my grandmother's when I was a teenager because my family was trying to get a business off the ground, an antiquing business off the ground, and you know, we didn't have any money. There were times when my family went to the food bank just to feed us. You know, me and my little brother. This is when my mom and dad were still together.
I remember that all the time. My family definitely survived a lot off of food bank food. I am really grateful for programs like that. I probably would have gone hungry a lot of times as a kid.
Yeah.
Those options weren't there for my family.
You kidding? I still remember the one day where the only thing I had to eat was leftover pizza crust from the night before.
Yeah.
Like that was the only food in the house. The fridge was completely empty. There were no chips, no cereal, no ramen, nothing. It was like my family like, "Hey, we're going to give you pizza tonight." And of course, you know, because we were kids, we didn't really care for the crust. So, we threw
I
the
know as
crust back in the box.
a child, I liked the crust. I don't understand these picky children these days.
It was always
Yeah.
it was always a texture thing with me when I was a kid. Like I'll eat
Yeah.
the whole pizza now and not blink, but and I mean the whole pizza. It's mine. One doesn't get this awesome physique right here by not eating.
All right, calm down, horny.
I'm making the people watching horny. That's right. This is going on the hub.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding.
The only thing you can sell is toe pictures to me.
How dare you? I better make more money with my belly pictures. I'm gonna be like, that's right. I'm gonna learn how to belly dance with my roundness.
No. Not until you get me all those toe pictures you owe me. I will protest.
Could you imagine if I had an OnlyFans and that was what I was selling, was just me? Just.
You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. There's a community for everything.
Oh my god. Don't get me started. I made a joke about it once on a Yu-Gi-Oh video. I'm not even kidding. And I literally had people asking, so when are you going to start selling shit on OnlyFans? And I'm like, and I couldn't tell if they were kidding or if they were serious. Like, they didn't put an LOL or a ha ha ha. Nothing. And I'm like,
You know what? Stop. You need to embrace opportunity. What are you doing, man?
I probably would make more friends if I became a sex worker.
You're trying to make a living online, aren't you? Just embrace it.
Just embrace it. And sell boot pics.
Exactly.
And be like, there you go. This is what y'all came to see, right? The bottom of my boot.
You know, there is a community for everything.
Oh god. You know, if I'm sure if I like took care of my body and gained some confidence, I probably wouldn't mind being part of that community, honestly. But I just don't have the confidence that you need to have it right now. And let's face it. And I'm sorry to say, I know, and I know that there are women out there who love bearded guys who are on the chubby side. I know this for a fact. I come across them all the time on TikTok. There are women out there who see a chubby guy with a beard and go, that one, give him to me.
That's true.
But
Girls aren't as shallow as dudes are.
right.
Somebody's fun. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
Jack Black would get it.
But what I was going to say, the other thing is, though, is like the other half of that is you have to have a level of confidence, I think. And I just don't have it.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what the weird part is? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
A lack of shame.
There's also a lot of shame, which is bullshit, but I'm not surprised by that part. There's people shaming everybody for doing sex work, and it doesn't matter what you look like, somebody's going to shame you for doing sex work. Like, just period.
Yeah, just don't give a crap about those people, you know?
Yeah.
Just live your life however makes you happy, as long as you're not harming nobody else. Who gives a crap? Everybody just do your own thing and stop being poopy heads.
I think it would be funny to see me. Like, I almost feel like it would be funny just to see how bad. I honestly think I would fail as a sex worker. It's like straight up, I would 100% fail as a sex worker.
Yeah.
But
it's a small market for men creators. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to. Yeah, I'd have to find like a niche or something like to spin it to make it interesting. Like, honestly, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Just wouldn't be enough. Like, I'm sorry. You're not going to be able to, like, I'm not going to be able to sell porn, like, you know. Who wants to buy these Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards to touch my nipples?
I do not want that visual picture. Go to the corner.
Hold on, let me get a few of them so I can, you know, cover them all. I need more than two.
You're canceled. I'm canceling you on Twitter.
Go for it. Go for it. I'm sure that there's already plenty of people who'd love me to go away anyway. That's alright. Anyway. Back to the Batman. I'm sorry. We got off track there for a minute.
Yeah.
That's all right. We go on tangents every now and then. Um, what do you think about for the setting up for the sequel? Because rumor has it they're setting up the sequel to have the Joker in it.
I mean, it's pretty obvious they're doing that because they had a teaser of the Joker at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I watched some of like the interview things and the clips, and apparently he doesn't want to actually like use the Joker as a main villain, because he's been used too much, and he wants to try to bring out somebody like Mr. Freeze.
Mm.
But it's pretty obvious they're gonna get a sequel because this movie was a very big success. And I'm looking forward to that. I loved the casting, so I'd love to see more of that.
You know what I would really like if they were gonna. Here's what I was thinking about, something that would be kind of really cool to do with the Joker. Since you brought it up, the whole like him not being a forefront villain. What if he's like the mastermind villain? Like, cause he's always been Batman's kind of equal in that department. You know, with the meticulous planning and the schemes and all that stuff. So instead, what if we like that? Like I really like the idea of that of the next Joker being like maybe the final big bad in the trilogy. You know what I mean? Like you find out that the Joker set up everything that's bad that's ever happened in Gotham. The Joker's been behind it all the whole time, and Batman doesn't figure it out until the end of the last movie. You know what I mean? Like the Joker's the reason why the mob boss, you know, became a mob boss or whatever. You know what I mean? The reason that girl's dead, because we never saw her die. We never saw who killed her. The Joker, maybe she wasn't supposed to be dead. Maybe she was supposed to be alive in the back of that truck. And the Joker killed her, thinking Catwoman would kill them. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. And then, like, Batman has just... that would just be a really cool, like, plot twist where, like, the Joker was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I was orchestrating all the bad stuff that happened. You know what I mean? Who do you think was in the chat room giving the Riddler this idea? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I just think it'd be kind of interesting to have, like, the Joker be this mastermind who's just as clever and brilliant as Batman.
I mean, they kind of already did the mastermind thing with the villain in this.
With Riddler?
I forgot the name of the guy who Selena Kyle's father.
With who?
Selena Kyle's father. I
Yeah.
forgot what the name of the villain is. They kind of already did that with him.
Mahoney or whatever his name was, the random mob boss name that you can't remember.
Yeah, they kind of, I don't know, I kind of feel like they did a little bit of that with that
Oh,
one.
I just thought it would be interesting if, like, the Joker was, like, orchestrating conflicts with gangs and ripping off mob bosses and stuff like that. Like, you know, like, kind of like hinted at it with the Nolan films a little bit. Like, you want me to go back to ripping off mob bosses? Like, throw a little bit more of that in there. But, like, I thought it'd be really interesting, like, if the Joker was like, oh, yeah, I'm the one who gave the Riddler the idea to blow up X, Y, and Z. I'm the one who killed the prostitute or that was Catwoman's friend, so she would kill those mobsters. You know, that kind of thing.
They already revealed who killed her. They had a recording of it that was on video.
Oh, that's right. He choked her. That's
Did
right. I forgot. Huh?
Did you like walk out partway through it or something?
I did have to pee.
Okay. It was a long film.
Yeah, I had to leave for a second and pee. Sorry. Well, that explains that then. Because I didn't know who had killed her.
It was really traumatizing because you like hear her like screaming in guttural pain. They did a like very clever where you don't see like a lot of blood or gore in it, but it was still very horrifying. It felt like a real thriller for sure.
Yeah, I just thought it would be more interesting if like that was like a big reveal at the end of a trilogy or something. It's like, oh yeah, I'm the one who actually orchestrated all this stuff. You know, like we all thought the Riddler was the big mastermind. Like, it'd just really be a really fun plot twist if it like in the third movie it was the Joker like orchestrating even the Riddler.
But what would that add to anything?
I don't
That
know.
would just go for one character's like build up.
I just thought it would be interesting. That's all. To have like this whole like, just kidding. You thought it was this guy that was the mastermind. No, 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 no. It was me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still want to see the Joker in a Batman movie, but I also I totally want to see Clayface, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy. I want to see them all.
I do really like the character Joker, and all most people do, but I don't know. I just feel like he's been used enough. Like almost every single Batman film that's come out as to date has had the Joker as the main big bad guy, and I don't know. I think it'd be kind of interesting to try something a little different for once, especially like Poison Ivy's only had like one live action
Adaptation.
Joker, and it was and that one was a very cheesy, like goofy one. It wasn't like a more down to earth one. I would like to see more characters.
Yeah.
That honestly.
It's going to be interesting when they do Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, because both those characters are kind of like what are they? They're very they're not quite as evil as someone like the Riddler or the Joker gives off. You know what I mean? Like they're almost like they could have been heroes. You know what I mean? Like honestly, they could have been. They had the like they're that's another thing I like about Batman's Rogue Gallery. Like this is the thing that's most unique to his Rogues Gallery, I think, is like a lot of his villains have the potential to be heroes. Killer Croc has been switched sides before. Clayface has switched sides before. Victor Freeze doesn't really want to be a crook. He's just kind of a crook out of because he needed funds to trying to save his wife. Poison Ivy's cause is correct, but her method is wrong.
Yeah.
So
well, that's kind of why I would like to see more characters like that are a little bit more complex.
Then
yeah. And they did a lot of that in this one where, I like the fact that they're not like trying to make Catwoman out to be a bad guy because she robs rich people, because it's like, yeah, they deserve it. Who cares? They're white privileged asses, why should I, they're bad people.
Right. But that's what I was saying. Like, either you got like Two-Face, right, who good cause wants to be one of the good guys, but he's got split personality disorder, and the other personality is a dark persona. Then you've got Harley Quinn, who's a victim of the Joker, and she's overcome him before in the comic books, and said, no, I can be better. I am better than you, and don't have to be this kind of villain. There's even stories where she's joined the Bat family, like not officially like as a member, but like as a helper.
Who?
Harley Quinn.
Oh, okay. I was confused. I thought first you were talking about Catwoman. Like, no, it's because they got married. Okay.
Yeah. Catwoman, yes. She was actually almost this close to being an official Bat family member.
She was there because she was banging the boss. What are you talking about?
She was gonna be Mrs. Wayne.
Like, and I like more that side of the more complex, villains, where it's more of a fall from grace and trying to, get back to your root. That's more the type of stuff I would like to see. Black and white.
Yeah, it's very much like the like the Riddler and the Joker. Like when they do evil shit, it's like, wow, you're just evil for the sake of being evil. You're not a sympathetic villain at all.
Yeah, and it's not that that's not at all interesting, because those type of people do exist. But to me, that's I prefer, like, if I'm gonna choose between which one I'd much rather have the Poison Ivies of the world rather than the Joker. Like, I've seen him, I know he's evil. We get it.
Tell us a story where Batman has to justify stopping somebody he partially agrees with.
Yeah, and and that was one thing I really liked, is that we get to kind of see and I like the fact that in this one, Batman's parents aren't really like shown as like, oh, super perfect and nice, whereas in a lot of the other ones it's like, we were just really good rich people, whereas in this one, they were kind of corrupt, and he has to kind of deal with that. Is that like he's been doing all this for his parents, and maybe they weren't as squeaky clean as he had thought,
Yeah.
because you never want to think that, and that was really nice.
But they were also still good people. They were just people who made some bad choices.
Yeah, and
Say what? Say that again?
like Batman.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good reflection of how the real world is, because like good people make bad choices all the time. And sometimes those bad choices do hurt other people, but it isn't the overall descriptor of their character as a person. You know what I mean? Like obviously Thomas Wayne, went to a mob boss to scare a journalist, but he wanted the mob boss to scare the journalist, not kill him. So did Thomas Wayne make some mistakes? Of course. He went to a mob boss to solve a problem that could have been solved with words. Like, hey, he could have just had a meeting with this guy and like, look, the reason why I don't want you to, and actually had a heart to heart with this guy. Like, look, I'm not trying, look, you can write every horrible thing about me you want. Just please leave my wife out of it. You know what I mean? Like he probably could have potentially talked, like, because if the journalist was moral enough to say, I don't want your money, maybe he could have just had a conversation with him to solve that problem. You know what I mean? Or found a way to say, hey, look, if you're going to talk about it, can you please be eloquent in the way you speak about it? That kind of thing. Or try to find a middle ground with him,
Yeah.
But instead, he does what a rich person would do and just tries to solve the problem with money. And that's where he makes the mistake. It's not to say his intentions weren't good. He was trying to protect his wife. Those are good intentions, but in the end, it got somebody hurt.
It's also like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, go ahead.
But
I was done.
I like how you get to see a little bit of intergenerational trauma there. Like in this one, Batman is kind of a little, cuckoo. He's not like handling himself well, and when you kind of know, like, okay, my mother was clinically insane, and my dad was a rich asshole who didn't know how to solve his problems without his fists,
without his money.
You have to see him his that's kind of, I meant that like interchangeable,
Yeah.
like his power, in this, I mean, I guess with Batman he literally is punching people, but for me,
Right.
and you really get to see him kind of acknowledge that and overcome it and become even better. And that's the biggest. It just takes one person to like break the cycle, and it's about having the bravery to do so, and it's not easy. And it's cool to see him do that.
Especially like I like how he like starts kind of listening, like when Catwoman's like, "Oh, you're obviously rich," like when she points that out to him, and he's just kind of like taken aback by it a little bit.
Because he's super ignorant, and I love that she calls him out on that. And I think he is from a point of privilege, and you see characters call him out on that. Like obviously the Riddler is a piece of shit, and you're not for him, but you know what, he was right on saying like, yeah, like you didn't have it as bad as like the actual orphans. You had fucking money, you were in a mansion, you never had to watch babies die. And I thought that was really cool. I don't think like the Batman character has to be all good or all bad, and but there's big remakes like Ben Shapiro, who just can't handle nuances, and well, clearly you don't like Batman. Why did they let a guy who doesn't like Batman direct a Batman movie? It's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna slap him silly.
Yeah, I mean, like, also, like, I mean, the thing is like, it's like you said, superheroes actually wouldn't be all good anyway. Like, at the end of the day, like, here's the thing that a lot of people forget when we look at superheroes, right? The superheroes are doing what they have to. They're doing what they do because they are solving a specific problem that regular soldiers and cops can't solve, right? This is why Batman's kind of like the weird exception to the rule, because he's like, obviously, the only thing he really brings to the table is, hey, I provided the clubhouse for all the superheroes to hang out, so I get to be here. That's really at the end of the day. Like, honestly, you take Batman out of the equation, like, honestly, there's half a dozen other superheroes that could fill his shoes that actually have something super heroic to bring to the table. Like, the DC has their own Iron Man. You know what I mean? Like, there are heroes who just like there are other like being a detective isn't enough, in my opinion, to be a superhero. Like, like the question does everything Batman does, but his mask just makes it look like he doesn't have a face. Like he's just not as flashy, and it's like the point that I'm getting at here is that like, but superheroes realistically wouldn't be all good or evil, no matter how you slice it, because at the end of the day, they're vigilantes. All right, as far as the law is concerned, no matter what country you're in, a superhero is just a terrorist.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like that's the truth. Like honestly, like tell me you can't. It's hard to tell me I'm wrong because like let's pretend like superheroes existed, right? And let's pretend that none of them, like let's pretend the Justice League was real for a split second here, right? You're gonna tell me that Uncle Sam isn't gonna try to arrest some of them, especially the ones like maybe the Flash or Cyborg or Batman, who aren't quite as OP as some of the other superheroes. Like, oh, I guarantee you, Wonder Woman ends up with a fight with after she just stops some terrorists. I guarantee you, Wonder Woman has to fight her way through the police to get away. Like, she's got to kick over a cop car just to get away.
Not wrong.
I mean, that would be like that's how superheroes would be in the real world. Like the government would not work with them. The only superheroes that the government would work with would be the ones who were like for example, someone like Captain Atom, who is like, oh, my identity is public and I use my powers as the government directs me to, and because a lot of like that's how he's kind of portrayed in a lot of media, because he's like, he's just basically Captain America of the DC universe. You know what I mean? Like, but they work with the military. They still take orders and things like that. That's how those, like, you know what I mean? The only difference would be is that they would still have to wear a uniform or whatever. Like, that's
Yeah.
like, honestly, yeah, tell me I'm wrong. Like, there's no way that just because you're a super soldier, you would, on a team in a platoon or whatever of regular soldiers, you wouldn't still have to wear the same uniform. Like, your superpowers they're not going to let you wear a superhero suit just because you have powers.
I mean, I don't know if that would so much be the case. I mean,
I guess it also depends too. Like in the case of Captain Atom, like, hey, if I don't wear this, everybody dies.
Yeah.
You're right, there would be some exceptions to the rules. I just mean like someone like Captain America, for example, wouldn't get a special uniform just because he's got powers.
I don't know. You could also think of it as like them using those people as their mascots,
Yeah,
depends on
that's
the
true.
intent and what they go over.
Yeah. Also, it's could be an intimidation factor too. I kind of forgot about that because a lot of people would be scared of a guy like Captain America on a battlefield.
Yeah, that's kind of the point, but
Yeah. Also, like, let's face it. Okay, I retract that statement. They might let you wear one. Just kind of depends. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I was thinking about it, like, because like obviously, like if super soldiers like Captain America existed, the military would probably put them front and center and be like, yeah, look at that guy. See, he's got the impenetrable shield, and he's the one punching tanks away. You know what I mean? Like they probably put him in like, and while all the enemies focusing on the super soldier, they're not seeing all the regular guys circling around back. That kind of thing would probably be a very often used tactic. And the truth is, here's the sad part is, like, militarily speaking, you'd have to fight, whoever has the super soldier, you have to fight them on their terms. Straight up. You wouldn't be able to, like, ignore the super soldier and fight the rest of the guys.
Have you seen The Boys?
The Boys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit.
I think if you're really looking for something of like how the military would react or use them, I think it does a really good job with that.
Yeah.
They go over a lot of that where, like, yes, it is partly like they're able to use the people with powers for crime fighting, but it's also about mascots and merchandises and all that,
Yeah. The only thing that I have a problem with The Boys is that like they don't give a chance for like regular like they don't have a lot of room for like good people to be heroes. Like with The
No,
Boys, everybody, all the heroes are.
in real life,
Say again.
which is a lot of what it would be like in real life, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that would be a little more gray than that. Like I think there would be superheroes who aren't in it for the money. Like, and obviously because Vought picks, Vought just kind of like makes people superheroes at random for the most part in that universe. So some people get powers, some people don't, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all kind of random, and it's just kind of like, and I get it, like some superheroes, I understand why they would end up being like, I hate to say this, but because like I know how the real world works, money does corrupt people,
Yeah.
you know. So I do think like for example superheroes who are people who are born from the lower economic spectrum would probably end up working for Vought and not questioning it too much. Whereas because it probably helps. They'd be like, well, I've got money, and this person says I'm special. So maybe it would go to some of their heads. Saying,
There are heroes in that show who, are just good and might just work on the smaller level, but generally you have to be corrupt and willing to turn a blind eye to awful things to make it to the big
yeah,
league in that.
yeah, that's true. And there
That's
are,
kind of more what I mean by that.
yeah,
Where it's the same things like for a lot of people, like there's very few good managers in the world who are kind people because generally you have to be cutthroat and evil in order to make it that far. I'm not saying like that necessarily has to be the rule, but in general, in order to make it in a capitalist society, you have to be okay with abusing your power.
yeah. And I'm not okay with it. That's probably why I'll probably never make it very far, even as a content creator. I think sometimes because I'm just not okay with the idea of abusing whatever power I get.
And that's how and that's how I feel about a lot of things. Like I don't think I would ever be able to be successful in the business world because yeah, I'm not willing to, not give somebody a livable wage or whatever it is. And the thing is, generally in order to get ahead in life, you have to be okay with,
Stepping
you
on
know,
someone else.
you have to be okay with tearing down your fellow man. And
Yeah.
it's horrible and it's awful that it is like that, but you know, all you can really hope is that, karma's real and go about your life,
Yeah. Well, this has been a depressing note. Of course, also like you and I have a very different like I don't know. I feel like if you could combine the Vought universe, the Boys universe, with the Marvel universe, I think you'd have it about right. Where what I think realistic superhero existing in the real world would be like. I think you would have like yes, you would have the Seven, which are the corporate bought superheroes, which they are all about working for basically the government's interest, and they're making money for companies, you know. But I think you would also have the Avengers, and they would clash all the time.
Yeah, I would definitely see that. I think it would make sense if there was more than one group.
Yeah. But also like you would only see like for example the Seven would only be doing hero work, like for example, and here's the thing, like obviously when you have like the Avengers existing, like the Vought would have like just this like teams of lawyers always covering stuff up or getting the fake superheroes out of prison and stuff like that, so like they never quite go away, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like no matter how many times like, oh see, what's his name, Homelander is reformed now, see he went to therapy, but he didn't really go
Mhm.
to therapy. The Vought just said that to get him off of the murder crime for killing Daredevil.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what I'm gonna get is like I think that's if I could end it on anything, I think it would be somewhere in that gray area. Like, and also like governments would totally like honestly. Here's how I think it would work. I think the media would spin the superheroes like Spider-Man and the Avengers like they're vigilantes. They're not actually solving problems. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? while at the same time, like, the only thing you ever see any of them doing is actually stopping bad guys, or sometimes fist fighting the corporate superheroes. But you'd see the corporate superheroes are the ones who are reckless and constantly hurting the citizens. So it would be basically like the government saying, like they do to us when it comes to police, don't believe your lying eyes. You know, that's what I'm saying. You literally, like, well, think about it. Like, everything, CNN, Fox News, they both try to tell us, oh, don't believe your lying eyes. Defunding the police isn't the right answer. You know what I mean? And taking those funds and putting them to other emergency services. You know, that's not the answer. And I'm like, yes, it is. It's, you know, so it's basically like how that's how I think the superheroes would be treated. Like, we, the people, know who the real heroes are. You know, and it's kind of like also like the Russia thing. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you look at Russian media, they're trying to paint the Russian troops like they're the good guys in this scenario, but the whole world knows Russia's the bad guy in that conflict.
It'd be interesting to talk to like people who are in Russia now or like have family that are, because I've heard a lot of people, you know, even them, like kind of how, you know, we're against a lot of the, you know, wars that America are in, like the Iraq War. A lot of them feel that way too. But you know, obviously, it's still like you kind of have a choice, you know, whether or not you're going to go through with it and you're going to go and take part. So there's still some
like,
guilt.
Yeah. Well, also, like, you know, like the U.S. is definitely no angel in the global sphere at all. Like, let's be honest.
Definitely not.
I think, like, the only thing in the United States is actually that's good, quote unquote, that we're number one in is like freedom of speech. Like, you can criticize our government pretty much as you want. Mostly because our government actually just doesn't care about what you say.
Yeah.
They're just not threatened by you pointing out their flaws for the most part.
Which, hey, you know, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
Brownie points in.
Right. Whereas you go to like Russia or China, if you insult the president like on a line, you know, you might end up getting body bagged or tossed in a prison cell.
It's so insane to think about.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, at least we're lucky in that aspect.
Yeah. Although I think everywhere we're the entire world right now is fighting the same battle that you're seeing, just in a metaphorical sense. Like, it's basically everybody else trying to stop, you know, trying to collectively come together and say, hey, okay, racism done, homophobia done, tyranny done, you know, misogyny done. It's like, you know, we're trying to say no more across the entire globe. It's just, when you got rich and powerful old white guys, frankly, trying to say no, I want more money and more problems for you and less problems for me. It's, you know, it's why the progress is taking so long, I think. Like, obviously, like, did you know that like 13,000 Russian citizens are in prison right now for protesting the war?
It's insane.
Yeah. And I saw some videos of some Russian citizens getting arrested, and it looked just like our BLM protest when the cops go overboard and beat the crap out of citizens. It looked just like it.
Disagreeing with authority gets you in trouble.
Honestly, and this is why every time I see the cops interacting with somebody, I always end up rooting for the other guy, straight up. Like, if the other guy decides to fight, I'm just like, I hope you win. Although sometimes I worry about that too, because I feel like win or lose, it's a death sentence.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I don't know. It's just, the world's an ugly place right now. And I
mean, things are getting better, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
So much work. I mean, I don't know how people can keep up with this stuff as much as I mean, I get overwhelmed, and I keep up with it pretty regular thanks to TikTok, to be brutally honest. Like, it's in my face all the time. There's a story about a racist cop here. There's a story about a Russian doing some horrible shit over there in Ukraine. There's a story about some bastard teacher or doctor, or there's some bastard politician setting up this bastard law. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, I question how much progress the United States really has made.
Well, you actually get in trouble for lynching people now, so I would say it's better. Not to say that it's as good as it needs to be, but it's better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing you have to remember. Progress is a very slow-moving train, but it doesn't mean you should just give up on it.
Oh no, and I know I'm never gonna be team give up. I'm team frustrated is what team I am.
Well, that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
I've definitely been dealing with being as depressed and secluded enough as is, so I feel you there. It's too much.
Well, I think on that depressing note, I think we should call it quits for this episode because it's an hour and 20 minutes in. So I think we're gonna end this on this one. If you made it this far in the video, all three of you, tell me your favorite color in the comments.
Do you want some good news?
Yes, throw me some good news actually before we get out of here.
You and Mia Khalifa are now married with 3 children.
in your Sims game.
You're middle-class citizens, and you're able to pay the bills all right.
Oh man, I wish. Mia Khalifa is a gorgeous individual.
You're welcome for. I've made all your wildest dreams come true.
Yeah.
I will take a check in the back, please. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I freaking wish. Oh yeah, like and subscribe, guys.